Hello YouTube, it's me John Avenger once again and welcome to another review. This is another action thriller that I just saw yesterday. This is a 2021 spy film, the 25th in the series, and it was produced by Eon Productions, starring Daniel Craig in his final appearance as James Bond, and it was directed by a newcomer, Cary Joji Fukunaga. He did a good job directing this, even though the movie has problems. But hear me out, Josh. Before you go in the comment section and say I hate this movie, I do not hate this movie. Hear me out. It was directed by this man. Yeah, the screenplay Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, and Fukunaga and Phoebe Waller. That's the problem. That's one of the problems right there with off the bat that I didn't mention in my Letterboxd review. 4 people. Oh, wait, what is it, like 5 people wrote this movie? 4 people. This only needed 2 writers. Just saying. And the supporting cast, you got Leah Seydoux, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, who's barely in it, Jeffrey Wright, Christoph Waltz, Rory Kinnear, and Ray Fiennes reprise their roles from the previous films. And you have Rami Malek as the villain, who's barely in the freaking movie, but I'll get to that. It's No Time to Die, guys. No Time to Die. You're not going to see much, so I'm just going to say it. This movie really had a lot of problems going in because it got delayed a bunch of times because of the pandemic. The film was in development hell for a while because the Spectre. I hated Spectre. That movie was so boring, and I was just done with the franchise for a while after that because so were the audiences and the critics because the last movie was not good. It was way too long and it had too much going on and the villain was just weird and. There was it really could have been much shorter. That's what I'm going to say about this movie. And originally, Danny Boyle was going to direct this movie, but he had to back out. It says, Danny Boyle was originally attached to direct it and co-writing screenplay with John Hodge. I think that would have been better. He wouldn't have made the movie 2.5 hours. But they left in August of 2018 due to creative differences. And trust me, you backed out at the right time. So Fukunaga was announced as Boyle's replacement 1 month later. Most of the cast had signed by April 2019. Principal photography took place in 2019, before the pandemic. Billie Eilish performed the song. The song is good. No Time to Die. It's well done. And the film finally came out like a year and a half after the pandemic started, October 8th of 2021. And it mostly got positive reviews. This is a positive review, not a negative one, even though I do have my issues with it. It made over $700 million worldwide, making it the 4th highest grossing movie of last year. It won an Oscar for original song, yeah. And the plot is just very, very muddled. Like, I'm gonna say the good things about it. The score is good. The action is really good. It's well shot. The cinematography is fantastic. You can see the explosions and the gunplay and the stunt work. It's really well done. The acting is mostly solid from most of the cast I care about. Like I said, the film is got good sound. The film has it has continuity because they do mention Vespa from the first film, but ever since she died in Casino Royale, it just wasn't the same. But that's about it. I mean, the idea of this, Spectre being, it was 5 years later, Bond is retired, and then another person tries to be the new 007, who I didn't care about her at all. And no, Josh, it wasn't just because she was British. She's in 2 action scenes in this movie. Lashana Lynch, first she pretends to be Jamaican, then she takes that stupid, wig off, and then she's British. I'm like, be consistent next time, or just don't put her in the movie. The film cost $250 to $301 million. The money's on the screen. It doesn't have any horrendous CGI. That's another positive. But the movie's too freaking long, guys. I can't hold it in any longer. 163 minutes. This movie is almost as long as Pirates of the Caribbean 3. And it did not need to be that long, Josh. You know that. All of you guys know that. A Bond movie should be 2 hours or less. It does not need to be 2.5 hours. This is living proof of it. The last movie was too long, and this one is even longer because they have to shoehorn every character from the last movie that's still alive and just do one big finale. Not every movie can be Avengers Endgame. I told you that, guys. And even that movie had a lot of stuff that could have been cut just for certain reasons, but not from me anyway. But the characters these are the characters that could have been cut. The Russian guy. What's his name? Orbachev? Obruchev, yeah, he's a freaking comic relief. He has an accent like this, and he's like, "Oh, this is not supposed to do that," and I'm like, he doesn't fit in this movie. He could have been cut out or just killed off in the first hour. Lashana Lynch, she's not good in the movie. I think she's worthless. She's a diversity hire. Naomi Harris, she was in the last two films. She does nothing here. Ana de Armas is cool for that one scene she's in, in Cuba where they're having the shootout and she's kicking guys' asses. That's not so bad, but after that, you don't see her again. So she was kind of underused. Rami Malek, he could have been a great villain. He has this voice like this and this makeup on his face, but he doesn't do anything until the end of the movie. And I'm like, why did you pay this big actor to be an underused villain? Why? He's a good actor. Stop wasting his good actors. Jeffrey Wright just the best he could, but he gets killed off. Why? Because he was doing The Batman, which is a far better movie than this. And yeah, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I was more invested, and that was a very long movie. It didn't drag until like the middle or the third act, but here it drags a lot. The first 20 minutes is about a flashback that Leah Sedow's character has when she was a little girl and her mother was killed, and she's she wakes up and she's an adult. Her and the little girl, they're just there. I didn't say Leah Sedol was terrible in the last movie. If the impression was you thought I hated her, I didn't. I just thought she was underused, and she's underused here too. She's there just to be Bond's love interest and the beginning, and then she disappears for an hour and then comes back and has to talk to Blofeld. He dies, and then her and Bond have to share a kiss at the end before he dies. And the little girl, she's just there. Didn't hate her, but every time she talks to Leah Sedol, there's no subtitles, so I have no idea what they're saying. A little consistency wouldn't hurt, movie. Madeline, and what's her name? Mathilde? I don't know. I don't speak French. But she's not terrible. If I was more invested in her character in the last movie, I would have loved her, her send off. But she doesn't have anything to do. Ray Fiennes, he's good as M. Even though he's not Judi Dench, she does well. The guy that plays Q, no. I prefer the Q from the original shows. In this one, he's gay. I don't give a shit, guys. I told you about that. My stance on that is that affiliation goes to die in 2023. Making somebody gay doesn't make it progressive. It's wrong. Wrong. Ong. Billy Magnuson is a good actor, but he fell out of place in this movie, just like the Obruchev guy, because he's funny. He's a funny actor, and I want to see him in either a Marvel movie or a DC show or something, because he's got a lot of talent and a lot of charisma. And in this Bond movie, he's just like trying to talk over Bond, and they tell him to shut up, and then he betrays him. I'm like, he could have been cut. For pacing issues, you could have cut him out. He was Logan Ash. And Christoph Waltz, another good actor that was wasted as the villain from the last movie. This movie tried to be a better version of Fallout. You're never going to be Mission Impossible Fallout. You're not terrible, but Mission Impossible Fallout is right here. You're right, like right here. Barely, because you got a good director to direct the action well. And also the John Wick movies are better. They're shorter and they're R-rated, so they can get away with a lot more. Bond has plot armor in this movie. He shoots people and they just instantly die, and when they shoot him, they don't even hit him. Except for, Rami Malek's character at the end. Seraphin, whatever his name. Seraphin, whatever his name is. I said it's entertaining. It is. A 3 stars doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, it loses 2 stars for the pacing, the running time, and just the lack of characters that are not in there. That they're just there for a blink and you miss it. I'm like, yeah, and then they're gone. And I'm like, this movie got delayed a lot because of that. And it's the ending of this franchise for a while. I don't know. It's just, the movie needed to be shorter, guys. I don't need every action film to be 2.5 hours. Multiverse of Madness had to cut a lot of stuff out to make sure that it was tightly paced so it didn't, lose its audience. Here, it was just, by the time we got to the third act, I'm like, please, for the love of God, just end. It was not as painful as Eternals. That bored me to shit. That bored the shit out of me in the theater, and I saw the gay kissing, and here, it was like, it was a lot, it was shorter than that, but barely. It only got a pass from me only because of the action, the cinematography, the score, the directing, and some of the acting. At least, Daniel Craig is not phoning it in. He's giving it the best he's got. But my God, did the movie have to be this long? Not every ending needs to be that. The last Harry Potter movie was short compared to the first three. It wasn't 2.5 hours. You know? You gotta really have a tight knit, fast pace and good action and not slow down. And there's too much talking in this movie. I already sat through CW shows that had too much talking, guys, this year. Don't bore me to death with all these talking. You could have reduced scenes between the villain and the heroes and make it a lot faster. You don't. I'm gonna kill you. That's it. You don't have to go. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Boom, and then the action starts. I'm like, that's just bad pacing. It got an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. It could have been a little bit lower. It is better than. I'll say this: it's better than Eternals and Black Widow, only because there was no Yelena in this movie. Thank God, because the accents in this movie, I was just underwhelmed by it. I was indifferent because I saw so many Bond movies before this that was shorter that had less accents. It isn't the sleekest or most daring double oh 007 adventure, but No Time to Die concludes Daniel Craig's franchise tenure in a satisfying style. It is satisfying to see where he ends up because I'm like, I don't have to see this dark, serious version of Bond for a while. I hope the next Bond is more fun. Take a hint from the Uncharted movie. That wasn't perfect, but by God, it made me laugh. This I chuckled maybe once or twice, and I know it's not a comedy, but you have to have a consistent tone. You can't be, ha ha ha, I'm falling down this elevator shaft, and then the next minute somebody's like burning alive, or they're getting their eye popped out, which that looks stupid, I'm sorry. And also these people burn in acid. You have to have a consistent tone. It's not horrible. It's entertaining, but if I had this on Blu-ray, I would skip half the running time. Because I'm like, it's just too freaking long, guys. Infinity War feels like 90 minutes compared to this. And it's not horrible. The Third Pirates is horrible. Because that movie had like 150 characters that could have been chopped out and removed and put in a deleted scene. Here, it needed some editing. It needed some serious editing. The only reason this is better than some other films from last year and earlier this year is because the action was good. It was well shot. When Bond explodes on the bridge and when he's swinging, that was freaking awesome. And, the fight scene in Cuba, awesome. There's not a lot of Spanish in it, which is good. Ana de Armas kicks some ass, but she's in one scene. Lashana, don't give a shit about her, guys. Sorry. I like my black women with long hair or frizzy hair. That's my kind of black woman. And American or Canadian. She just never interested me in any movie. Not Captain Marvel, Multiverse of Madness, or this. She's 3 strikes and you're out. Bye. So it's not horrible. I do like the film, but it needed a lot of editing. As a person that has a low attention span, you gotta grab me in the first 10 minutes. Not an hour. You gotta do better than that. The next Bond needs to be only 2 hours. Do not make it 2.5. Don't bore us to death. Just get to the point already. I would say do it younger. Get a younger Bond that's like either a rookie or just a younger take. You don't have to do a dead serious 30-year-old or 40-year-old nowadays. Do something different that doesn't suck. Because these Bond movies have been hit or miss for Daniel Craig. Casino Royale was good, a little long, but good. Quantum of Solace needed work. I saw that in the theater and it had a lot of terrible editing, shaky cam, and the writer's strike really hurt that film. Skyfall was good, but too long. Spectre sucked. I was bored out of my mind, and the villain did nothing for me. Here, it's right in the middle. It's not horrible. It's not the greatest, but it's serviceable. And like the Suicide Squad last year, didn't hate it. I thought the worst one that I saw was Spectre because I was bored the most with that. And if you do get a new Bond, get somebody younger. Get somebody that wants to do this. Craig after Skyfall was like, I don't want to be here. And you can tell here he's trying to do his best, but he's doing it for the fans, and that's it. But the rest of the time, I'm like, Inspector, he looked like he didn't want to be there. And the romance didn't hurt me. Josh was like, oh, you hate the romance. I thought the romance was fine. Leah was a little bit older in this one, and, in the first one, she was like late 20s. But I still think the age difference is a bit much. Leah's like, what, in her 30s now? She's 37. She's the same age as I am. And Craig is like 50, right? Yeah. Craig is a 54. So yeah, I can notice the difference. It's like when Roger Moore did the last Bond movie in the 80s and he was like 57. I'm like, yeah, age can catch up to you guys. But it is a good action film. For it's a decent one. Not great, but it could have been a lot worse. This could have been 3.5 hours like Avatar, and I could have fell asleep, but I didn't. I went all the way, and movies like this need an intermission or something because man, when it's almost 3 hours, you feel it. Remember the Transformer sequels, and they're longer than this. But anyway, that was my thoughts on No Time to Die. It didn't suck, but I'm glad I saw it at home and not in the theater. My knees would have just fell asleep. Anyway, I still think Mission Impossible is better, in my opinion, because I got more joy out of that. And it definitely didn't, at least that, last one, while it had problems, with Vanessa Kirby, this one just, had a little bit more, it was still better than this, mainly because I really was invested in the plot in that. Here, the action's good, so if you want to see some action, there's plentiful action throughout. You just have to wait a few minutes in some of the scenes. But it is entertaining. It's not horrible. Thanks for watching. Take care. And I'll see you in the next one.